and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! This is a podcast based on a blog of the same name because it's like our siren cry. You will hear our song and you will like it. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out the blog at couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For at Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU, ! Hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays. And as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and via Google Play to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows, including, but not limited to, Doctor Who, Downton Abbey, How to Get Away with Murder, Broadchurch, New Girl, Game of Thrones, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, American Horror Story, Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Supernatural, Gotham, and The X-Files from its inception through its revival. More episodes are in the works. Our Marvel Defenders panel will be discussing Luke Cage. Our DCTU panel will be engaging in our mid-season roundup of the progress of Arrow, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl, and new panels will cover Stranger Things and the Mindy Project. New series will examine Gilmore Girls, including the Gilmore Girls reboot A Year in the Life and Sherlock. And because we also look back at shows now past, we'll be looking back at That 70s Show and Glee. What's more, CPU, from time to time, goes live. We've appeared at Comedy Outlet Mondays at Dog Story Theater and at Grand Rapids Comic-Con in Grand Rapids, Michigan, while streaming live on Facebook. More live appearances are being planned, so make sure you like us at our Facebook page, our Twitter, follow us at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, and or our Pinterest at CPU Podcast, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play. In the meantime, if you don't hear your show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we're always seeking new panelists, so if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any one of our outlets aforementioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback, but keep your fangs to yourselves, if you would. Today we are around the water cooler and recapping the first half of the 8th and final season of the Vampire Diaries, which airs September through May on the CW and currently on Fridays at 8. Season 8 premiered on October 21st, 2016. The Vampire Diaries, as conceived when it premiered, follows the life of Elena Gilbert, played by Nina Dobrev, a teenage girl who falls deeply in love with a 162-year-old vampire named Stefan Salvatore, played by Paul Wesley. Their relationship becomes increasingly complicated as Stefan's vicious, malevolent, and mysterious older brother Damon Salvatore, played by Ian Somerhalder, returns with a plan to wreak havoc on the town, seeking revenge against his younger brother for turning him into a vampire against his will. Because Elena resembles their past love, Catherine Pierce, Damon also begins to fall in love with Elena. Elena undergoes many hardships and deaths of close family members and loved ones throughout her high school experience, at least until, at the end of the 6th season, star Nina Dobrev departed from the show, but that might change in the near future. The show has soldiered on without the character and actress who received top billing in the meantime, so for better or for worse, we'll cover everything in our water cooler chat today. For a more detailed plot summary, listen to prior podcast episodes about the Vampire Diaries or check out our other TBD entries on the blog. If you didn't already know, you can click the floating box at the top right of the header, the picture with the TV watcher, and search for any blog entry or prior podcast episode, because it's a futuristic thing to do. For now, our further compelled group of Vampire Diaries panelists, Jen, Kelsey, and Allie, have reconvened around the water cooler to discuss the first half of Season 8 of this long-running show. We're also going to speculate on what the second half of the season might look like, as it was formally announced that this is TVD's final season, with its series finale airing in May 2017. Before we do, as always, I want to take a moment to double-check the panel's temperature. After all, as we all know, sometimes a TV show can take turns for the better or the worse in our heads, or can continue its level of awesomeness, or lack thereof, depending upon its story evolution. As always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have viewed this entire show to date and will, let's face it, discuss sensitive plot points. So, for those of you who are not caught up on the Vampire Diaries, listen at your own risk as there may be major spoilers. Welcome back, panel. How are you?
Good.
Are you ready to talk about this Season 8 business?
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Well, as they know and as you know, listener, I'm going to ask them to rate their interest in the show, and this is going to happen with the CPU standard character question, which changes with every show we do. And in fact, the Vampire Diaries list has been tweaked yet again because our characters have changed yet again. We've even lost some, spoilers, so keep that in mind, but I'm going to ask them what they think they're feeling in terms of their interest in the show nowadays. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Do you watch the Vampire Diaries because you love vampires and or you love being a vampire and or you love yourself as a vampire and or because you're afraid you're so bad you might end up in hell or working for the devil if you don't watch it? Plus, you're most invested in and or love the brother Salvatore, like Damon Salvatore. Do you watch it because you don't really care for vampires and or the vampire way of life, knowing that excess will turn you into a ripper? And you prefer to stay sensitive and pragmatic, and or you watch it to look after your so bad he's good brother, even though doing so makes you resentful, or will force you to become a ripper to protect that brother and others you love because you're still invested in the brother Salvatore, like Stefan Salvatore. Do you watch it because your children, who are not biologically yours, watch it? Plus you're invested in the romances, especially Stefan and Caroline, like Caroline Forbes. Do you watch it, but you think it's lost some of its magic? Still, you're invested in the romances, especially Bonnie and Enzo, like Bonnie Bennett. Do you watch it because your biological children watch it, and you want to protect them from watching things that might scare them? And or because you've encountered many supernatural creatures in your life and just want to do some fact-checking for your job as an occult studies professor? And or because you enjoy the thrill of a life that involves these things, like Alaric Saltzman? Do you watch it because you have a long history of making really poor choices? And or because you're a survivor, even when good sense, like so many people in your life, has abandoned you, like Enzo? You don't know why you watch it, it's pretty abnormal, and you prefer to stay as ordinary and human as you are, but all your friends like it, so you're helpless to be pulled along for the ride, and or you are or have been drawn back in even when you think you got out, like Matt Donovan. Or you don't watch it because you fell into a magical coma because your portrayer left the show to be away from her ex-boyfriend, like Elena Gilbert, or because, spoiler, Damon unceremoniously killed you, like Tyler Lockwood. Who would like to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
I'm Allie.
Hi, Allie.
Hello. My character choice, I always like to try and choose one because that's like the general theme, but I am a little bit of a hybrid. Pun intended. Today, and that I'm kind of a Bonnie and kind of a Matt, only because I say Matt only because like I'm not feeling the show as much as I used to, and I would try to like not watch it anymore, but I would always kind of be pulled back into the characters and the sentimentality to it, and I do love Bonnie and her relationships. So
all right, and who else are you, Allie?
Oh, I am your niece.
Yes, that is the disclaimer. Because family dynamics,
Yes.
Our credibility is a little less. Welcome back, Allie.
Thank you.
She's like, what do you mean, who am I? I'm Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey.
Hi. I'm still Damon, I think, because I still love vampires. And I still am mostly invested in the brothers. And maybe like a little dash of Bonnie. I can't remember what Bonnie's description was, though. Where is it?
It's lost its magic.
Yeah, I mean,
that was kind of my
I don't know.
consensus.
Maybe it's like a Bonnie / Matt is my second part. Mostly Damon because I still love vampires, but it's kind of lost its magic, and I kept having the same thing where like I was like, I don't really want to watch it anymore, and then you were like, we're doing the podcast, and I was like, I still want to talk about it though, so I'm going to watch it. And then I did get sucked back in because I feel like it got a little better.
Welcome back, Kelsey.
Thank you.
And I'm basically copying Kelsey. This is Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
I am still Damon,
Okay.
but I don't know if I have Stefan in. Probably take out the Stefan.
Okay.
And add Bonnie, a little bit of Bonnie, because I do feel like it's lost some magic. Even though it's gotten better this part of the season, whatever. The last still has not, and it won't ever be.
I just still don't think it's the same without Elena.
No, it's not. So, yeah.
Well, I have a fun spoiler for that, but I'll get to that in a minute. So, of course, I'm Kylie, which everybody's pointed out. Welcome back, Jen, by the way. And last time I was Damon. I've been Damon since we've been doing the podcast. I guess I would still be Damon, partly, just because, I'm in love with him. So
Fair enough.
He's on a very long list of I wish you would marry me people. But I think that I would also add Stefan pretty definitively this time, just because I think that I'm really just watching it to watch Damon and not actually because I'm caring about the vampire stuff as much anymore. And I also would say Bonnie. Even though I'm not really, I'm sort of invested in the Bonnie and Enzo romance. I think they are cute.
It's cute.
It's cute.
I like them more now after this season than I did in the past.
I did
Yes,
too.
I agree.
They did a good job of developing that.
They did.
That relationship.
Yeah.
And they sold it to us, and that's good. But I do think that the show has definitely lost its magic. We discussed the last time that if this wasn't the last season, we were all going to be like, show is bad. Bad show. I think the producers and the network made the right call. It's ready to go. I think the actors are ready to go. I think that there's just not a whole lot more you can squeeze out of this turnip. And they're kind of proving it, but they also, I think, now that they know their end point, are tightening up a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this season so far, this first half of season 8. It should be noted that as we're recording, the Vampire Diaries has returned and 2 episodes have aired. We are not going to talk about those.
Good, because I haven't watched them.
I know, I didn't know that.
I didn't know it returned.
Yeah.
It returned on Friday the 13th.
Oh.
I knew it did, I just haven't had a chance. So.
That's
I thought it was returning this Friday.
No, January 13th.
Oh.
But
Because I thought a lot of the CW shows were returning this week.
the superhero ones.
Maybe that's what I was getting
Yeah.
confused with how bad it. I watch too many shows on that.
I know. Well, it's the life of a TV lover, right?
I know.
So, what do you think of season 8 so far? We're not going to talk about those 2 episodes, especially since no one's watched them. What do you think about the first 8, though? How does it compare? What you like, what didn't you like?
I liked it. the sirens added.
I thought that was cool. And I liked that it had its own mythology, too, that they expanded on sort of the mythology that we know about sirens. Well, if you know mythology.
I'm still confused about one was good and one was evil.
Yes.
Which one was which? Because I think I
don't think you're supposed to really know. I think that's kind of the point. It's kind of, I think, again, like a mirror of Stefan and Damon kind of thing, where it's like...
Parallel, yeah. I think
a gray area.
Yeah. I think Sybil was kind of intended to be the good one if you had to choose between like a black and white thing, but because of Celine, she just kind of, was corrupted and that sort of thing.
It's sort of like Sybil actually, she compared to Damon in that Celine forced her to become a siren, whereas Stefan forced Damon to become a vampire, forced in quotations.
But then the continuation of that parallel, given Sybil's choice at the end of mid-season, was that she remained an immortal with siren powers, even though she broke her deal.
Yeah.
Just like Damon, for all his talk, he always comes back to he loves being a vampire.
Right. Right. Which is kind of a fun parallel, I think.
It is, yeah.
I think it made things interesting. Sometimes that stuff can get cliche, and I think that they wrote it really well.
I personally was kind of disappointed that they were sirens. I liked what they did with them, with the history, like you guys said, but I feel like it's been kind of done before almost, and I don't know, I was just hoping for like something a little different, I guess, which is just my own personal preference. I don't think it's really writing wise, because I do think they did a good job with sort of mapping it out.
I think it'd be cool if they had been creative enough to come up with something else to call them.
Yeah.
Where they are still siren-like in that they use their song and whatever.
Yeah.
And apparently are luring men specifically, but not always, so that's kind of weird too.
I have a follow-up question to that, because aside from the Odyssey, when have they been done before?
Well, I know Supernatural did an episode on sirens. Like, I don't know. like I said, I honestly think it's just my personal preference. Like, the way they ended season 7 with, like, the whole, like, hand thing, I just anticipated something different, and so to see, and plus I personally like Greek mythology and Roman mythology, so I was already kind of, like, aware of sirens, and they're sort of, like,
I guess that's where I can see where you're coming from. Like, it'd be cooler if they had invented a new name for it, even if it was like they're similar to sirens in that, just because they seem to be so much more than that, you know, from comparing the mythologies to each other, and they seem to be so much more, you know, original evil kind of thing. It would have been cool if they had come up with a different name, I guess.
So,
but are they original evil? So the other big character that we find out is Cade. Who, now, is he the devil? Is he the first evil? That's very unclear. All we know about him is that he was psychic and burned and stoned.
Right. His backstory is awful. Yes. I mean, intriguing and cool in a way, but so, graphic. For the show, especially. I was kind of impressed that they went there, honestly.
I think for our predictions, if I remember, mine was like that the big bad would be sort of like a darkness-esque, like if you watch Supernatural, like the first...
Which everybody on this panel has.
Yes.
They're all on that panel.
But if the listeners are aware of the series, so I guess that kind of is sort of like Cade is almost like...
He's a little bit that way, Not
powerful,
quite as powerful, because it's not like he's the sibling of God.
Right. No, but they try to be original, which I appreciate.
He says he's the devil, and that he created hell with his psychic powers, which is pretty impressive.
It's interesting. I mean, I do think it has potential for this last half of the season, and they always do half seasons like that as well. Yeah, so.
It's interesting. I don't know. I'm wondering, I would like to see a timeline, though, like them versus, like, the original vampires, and and which one came first. Because I thought, who was the really old vampire? I'm getting them all confused. It's been so long.
The dad.
How could I
They came before they came before the Salvatores, right?
Oh, yeah.
Much more.
Like 1,000 years.
Yeah. So then the question is, who's first? The Sirens? Cade,
I see.
Well, clearly Cade was before the Sirens, but who came first, Cade or
the originals?
The originals.
That would be interesting.
That's because it was hard to tell. I don't know if they gave specific dates, and if they did, I did not pay attention and do a comparison. So they were just all like in, you know, peasant European clothing.
Yeah,
it was
if you think about it, it does look like that same time era or whatever.
Yeah.
Both of them, so it could have been they were on the same.
Well, what era are you talking about? I mean, because the originals came through during the Viking era.
Yeah.
And the sirens that we understand to be the sirens are Greek mythology, like BC.
That's true, but it didn't look. But the dress and the setting that they actually created did not look like Greek BC mythology time setting.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why I'm wondering.
So I'm having a hard time believing that.
Yeah,
you know,
I feel like just because the writers established them as like different creatures, that they felt like they didn't have to have a timeline. But I agree that would.
I would just like to know,
like.
That's got to be canon somewhere.
Have you heard any news or like spoiler from like a TV mag that says there's going to be a crossover with the originals?
No, but that would be interesting.
Because that would be an interesting juxtaposition, if you will.
Word of the day.
Clearly, I haven't spent enough time on Tumblr looking for the Vampire Diaries stuff.
This is your assignment. Done. Okay.
It's just Damon and Elena if you go on the Vampire Diaries Tumblr tag, so it's just kind of like...
But
I'll
just start creating my own.
Right?
Throwing it out there.
Seriously, I kind of want to know what Cade is. I feel like I actually enjoyed the Sirens portion, and I agree with Kelsey. I like the parallel that they set up and that they really drove it home. I think the woman who's playing Sybil is doing a very good job. I'm not as convinced by the woman playing Celine.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of her.
Yeah,
and I thought it was kind of a weird twist when they chose her as the twin, because they were setting up what's her name that was Alaric's intern,
Georgie.
Georgie. And I actually felt like she has more I don't know, like charisma.
Chutzpah.
Yeah, like I could actually see that.
Yeah.
And then it was Celine, and I was like, oh, you're weird, and you spell your name wrong, and I don't like you.
It was bizarre to see Georgie as Georgie because she played Mindy on Drake and Josh, so I like had to take a childhood minute and just sort of
that's a
set
kid's
that.
show.
That's interesting.
I don't even know things.
I know about that show.
Yeah.
I feel
I
young.
grew up with that show. It was great.
old.
My siblings
I'm
watched
older
that.
than Nadia, and I've heard of that show.
Anyway,
So it
Jen
was bizarre,
wins.
but
I do have a 20.
Yeah, I'm not 100% convinced by Celine either. She's alright.
So
I think I do find it really hilarious that the weapon to defeat the sirens is a tuning fork.
Yeah, right?
So I was like, that's cheesy. And I saw it and I was like, God, that's a tuning fork.
It couldn't be anything else. What
Right.
else could it be?
I know. Maybe like a really weird shaped harpoon.
And here's my trouble with this. So
I do have a question on that as well.
Okay, well, yeah, so Georgie gets snuffed. She has this, spoiler, she has this tattoo thing
Yeah.
that matches the carving on the tuning fork. Mm-hmm. Why was that significant?
It connects her to hell. Like, that's her, like, brain.
That's it?
Because she came back to life, and so that's, like,
Oh,
her
I guess
reminder.
I missed that.
missed
What?
that.
She
I
came
missed
back
that
to
one,
life?
too.
I missed that too.
Well, because remember, she had this whole thing where she died in a car accident and killed her friend, and that was her
Oh,
fault.
that's
and so
right.
that's why she
Yeah.
went to hell. And then she was brought back for some
Because
I
she's
don't
in service
remember
to
that.
Kate.
Yeah, exactly. And so she just sort of had this as almost a reminder that was her purpose.
I don't remember that.
My personal question about the tuning fork, I don't know if this was ever discussed, was why did it, because it hurt the twins, but they never, I think Alaric brought it up, but they never, like,
Really went.
It also hurt Bonnie. They said
Did it hurt Bonnie?
It hurt
magical.
Bonnie,
It's
yeah.
just
So
magical.
maybe
It bothers
because
magical.
at first I thought I was like, oh my God, Celine's turning them into sirens. She's like feeding them pieces of people, and I was like freaking out because it went dark,
did.
with Kate's story and stuff. I was like, oh my God, she's feeding these children people.
I was worried for them.
I was very worried for a second, and
They
that's what I
still don't
thought.
look like they're 3.
They don't.
No,
They look like they're a solid
like 6,
5. Yeah.
5 or 6.
But that was just always my question. But if it is for magical beings, though, why doesn't it hurt the vampires? Like, it just wasn't...
Because they don't have
They're
magic.
not magical. They just
They
don't
don't
have
have magic.
souls.
The twins
That's
can cipher
true.
or take magic.
Yeah.
Is that what they do?
Yeah, they're ciphers.
And then Bonnie. She's not really magic anymore, though, is she?
I just think she can't use
She
it.
just can't use it. It's still in her.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, she needs to get that stuff under control and use it.
Bonnie, figure it out.
Lock it up,
girl.
Bonnie.
I miss the witch.
Yeah,
Bonnie.
she has spent this entire half season whining.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
sort
yeah.
I mean, that's what she always does.
Yes, but this half season it was
Not this bad, though.
particularly bad.
It was bad.
Because it was like, oh, Enzo is gone. He's all evil. I need to get him back, and I'm so depressed, and you have to baby me because of it. I was like, and I'm over you. Why didn't she stay dead again?
Which greatly disappointed me, though, because Bonnie has been through just about everything, like, a witch can go through in the course of, like, these seasons. And she's lost her magic a lot of times. She's died, like, multiple times. But, like, she's never... When she's lost someone, like, when didn't Jeremy die at one point? Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did.
And then he came back.
So, like,
As a vampire,
when people
yeah.
she's loved has died, she's never been really dependent as so much as she was, so it was just very bizarre to see that.
I think
like,
they were trying
characterization.
to prove that Enzo was like her true love
Yeah,
of
like
her
the
life.
one, yeah.
But I just think that's so dumb. Like,
It just...
it's an unrealistic expectation for relationships.
I will say, if they hadn't put her with Enzo, I would have probably definitely would have lost interest in that character. I think by putting them together in a romantic way, that gave something to her. Like she had something. Yeah, she was complaining all the time, but at least she had something to complain about.
Well, and you all remember or should remember that I have never been a big fan of Bonnie. The only time that I've ever really liked her was when her and Damon were palling it up in that parallel place. Then I was like, okay, I can kind of see your appeal. You've got good chemistry with Ian. Things are great. I like Enzo. I've never disliked Enzo. He's emerged from Diet Damonville, so that's nice.
Mm-hmm. He's good looking.
And he's good looking. He has a very swarthy exterior, which is very appealing. But I'm not moved by their relationship. Even maybe a little bit more this half season, but even still in their most profound declarations of love. I'm like,
I think they're just trying to recreate Damon and Elena, which they have that with Stefan and Caroline.
He's Diet Damon again.
Damon again.
In a different way.
He just took his crown.
Now diet and caffeine free.
I can't buy into the whole Stefan and Caroline. I just can't.
I can't either. And he popped the question.
I know.
How cheesy, right?
What are you doing?
I loved when they were
At least they're both vampires and it's realistic. In a vampire way.
I loved when they were friends and then they had that really great chemistry and I could see it going toward the romance and I was on the fence about it. And not that they're actually together, it's just very generic to me. Like, I don't know, I just don't feel anything by it. I like Bonnie and Enzo, like that's kind of, so I'm the opposite a little bit in that.
I actually liked Caroline and Alaric together.
I was just going to say that.
Like, I know that it was weird because obviously the situation was weird, but I felt like once they had formed their little family unit, I really liked them together.
I think it was cohesive given the, like you said, like the situation, especially for the twins. They were trying to make it as traditional as possible.
Yeah, but I even felt their chemistry as a couple too.
Yeah, that's
once
true.
it started that way as trying to make, normalcy for the twins, but I felt like their chemistry as a couple was stronger than her and Stefan as well.
I would agree with that. I think they try to, like, set Stefan and Caroline up as, like, here's the, for lack of a better word, mature, like, loving, supportive relationship that isn't just all wrapped up in passion and
that's
lust
true.
and, all the stuff that kind of swirls around Damon and Elena, for example.
Yeah.
But Bonnie and Enzo don't have a love for the ages. That's what Damon and Elena's quotient is. And Stefan and Caroline, to me, just seem flat. They were cute when they started, but now they seem flat.
It's like the homecoming king and the
I'm just a really
bland. You're like, oh, you're the most popular people in school, and you're blonde and you're pretty, so you should be together. That's how I feel.
Yeah, it's just like the bland couple that everyone feels like they have to like, but then they're just kind of like, okay, you're done now.
Maybe they'll run for office at the end of the show.
Those bland couples.
Yeah. Like you graduate high school, it's over.
Yeah.
And even the proposal was underwhelming. I was like, well, if you were going to do it, you could have at least added more occasion to it.
Right, you're a vampire. You can compel things. You can set up this big... I mean, it's Caroline, for gosh sakes. Like, if you're going to propose to Caroline, you better make it fancy.
Disney princess.
Yes.
I liked
and
the
public.
efforts.
Public. Yeah.
Like a flash mob or something.
Flash mob with rose petals raining and glitter.
I was going to say, flash mob, I think that's a little 2015. Okay,
It is.
But I liked the efforts of him to try and, like, sort of father the twins a little bit, how he was, like, making those dressers and, like, he did their room all cute because the house has, like, 5,000 rooms in it and he can fit them. So, yeah, I thought that was sweet and it added a nice touch to their relationship a little bit.
It was a sweet dynamic. I'll give you that. There was a little bit of because Stefan's never had to be
paternal
that person
in any
before.
way. Yeah, no.
But they didn't really spend much time fleshing that out because they were so worried about the twins being endangered by Celine and then Sybil.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
It was kind of fair.
Indeed. I think I'm a little underwhelmed that, though, the Armory Vault thing that was such a mystery turned out to be these two.
You would think it would have been Cade.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like my hope. Like, that's why the Sirens just kind of off-put. Like, I just felt like it could have been something more. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, like it's the last season. You have so much potential.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
And it did lead us to Cade, but then it's like, how come Cade hasn't been a problem until now? Like, if he's such a big evil.
That is the continuity issues. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, that's my question. Yeah. But by the same token, where's it all going? I think the cliffhanger was fairly strong.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we want to go forward to that already, because that seems like we're rushing and there's things we haven't talked about, but we can certainly talk about it. I don't know if you want to talk about it.
I think we can finish the plot points first. I think it's okay.
Okay, Kelsey.
You're welcome. I have an opinion.
Let's finish the plot points first.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let us before we get to the end of the season then, talk about the Damon and Enzo show and their tractor beam-like connection to Sybil, who doesn't take shape as a woman until after she eats a lot of people. Because that's basically what they're doing for her, is harvesting people for her.
Right, to make her, like, young and, like, beautiful and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Can't she just sing?
I thought it would have been cooler if she was, like, creepy and gross-looking, personally.
I agree.
Because they started it out very grotesque. Like you said, it got dark in that, like, they had that warehouse with all these, like, bodies hanging. Like, it was leading up.
And, like, if we could have seen her actually that way multiple times before if she had to get beautiful, before she got beautiful.
But then there are network standards, and they probably didn't want to scare anyone too much. But
well,
I don't know. It's supernatural. They showed them burning Kate alive.
That's true.
I don't know.
I completely agree, though. Yeah, I think it would have been.
That would have been cooler.
Well, not only that, but when she first emerged from her watery pit under a warehouse, whatever that was, she's brunette again. And really, like, super thin in frame. Basically,
she's Elena.
She's Elena. Yep. Again. And, of course, Damon he's turned off his emotion switch. He's, like, completely given into this whole thing because he thinks he's paying some kind of penance for all of his past misdeeds. But I just found, like, oh God, it's another woman that looks like Elena. Who then surgically goes into his head psychically and removes
Elena.
Which this is backtracking to, like, season 5 when Damon, like, supposedly died and then Elena erased all of her memories of him. Like, it's just recycling storylines, which we'll get to again.
Yeah. But we just talked about this on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast.
Recycling storylines.
Yeah.
Which, again, with the Ripper thing, which is towards the end, but it's just kind of all the same.
Yeah. That's the same, but it's different.
It is a little.
You're trying to push to the end too.
I know. I'm just saying towards the end, but yeah, I do think they have a tendency to recycle storylines and try and, like you said, replicate Elena's physique and her general presence in Damon's life, but it just doesn't work.
She's not her. No. Okay, so here's the big spoiler, and it came out today. I don't know if you realize this, but it was announced that Nina Dobrev will be returning for the series finale.
Woohoo.
I was wondering if
Good.
about that.
That makes me happy.
She actually Instagrammed the last script. She's received it.
I have to like that.
Well, I mean, that's very promising for a strong ending.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
it would be weird if they ended without her coming back at all. That would be...
Since she's in this coma this whole time. Right. And we left her...
Does that mean Bonnie's gonna die?
It would be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And stay dead?
Oh, snap. And stay dead?
I've thought about this, and I think it would be cool if they did, like, which I don't know if they will, but if they did sort of them, like, in the veil, and then meeting, and then Bonnie dying, and Elena coming back to life, and then you just sort of have, like, this closure. Like
you
that.
should write the show, Allie.
I'm going to. I'll email
them. Or a fanfic, at least.
I will. I'll email them.
Email it to me, please.
I will. I'll put it on the Tumblrs.
Excellent.
The Tumblrs.
Anyway, but I think the question was Damon and Enzo, right?
Yes.
So talking about
how do we feel about their Bonnie and Clyde, or Clyde and Clyde, as it were,
I was glad when it came to a halt.
Yeah.
I know.
It was cool at first. I liked it at first. Mm-hmm. And then Enzo got annoying because of Bonnie being annoying. And I was just like, okay, we can be done. And then it was done. So
it worked out for you.
It worked out for me. I mean, I know it was abrupt, but I was about ready to be like, please, just stop.
I actually thought there was more capacity that they could have played around with and just failed to do.
Yeah, no,
like, okay, so they've been out, joyriding around and having a vampire binger, basically. And Enzo's clearly conflicted. I just feel like they could have focused on these two guys more. They're part of the draw for the show, especially Ian. Not so much the people back at the ranch. Not even Stefan right now. I'm kind of not feeling him for the first time in the history of the show, except for the mid-season finale. Yeah. So I was like, it just seemed really rushed. It also
seemed really easy for Bonnie to get him away from her.
Yeah. Yes. For being so, like...
That's very true.
I thought.
Tractor beam. I keep saying tractor beam, which is not genre matching, but... That's what I thought. Like, they can't break free of the clutches, and yet somehow he could. I guess it goes back to your point. They're trying to make, love for the ages out of these two, and I just don't see it.
And I felt like Damon and Enzo were almost inorganic in that they have so much time. Like, they have to have this partnership, and neither of them were really happy about it, but the writers were trying to make it seem like brothers almost. And because of everything that happened with Damon leaving him in the fire, and like, there's just a lot of tension there, and it just didn't seem like, it just didn't give much to me. I don't know. Again, with the flatness, that's sort of how I felt.
Yeah,
so,
the flatness.
And
then, as part of all of this, they bring back Michael Trevino for 2 seconds, only to kill off Tyler.
That was my favorite part. I don't like Tyler. He's annoying.
I mean, he is annoying, but I thought for all of his time on the show, they owed him a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
I think Caroline's reaction should have been a lot more significant.
Yeah.
I mean, she obviously warned him, but she was in love with him. Like, really in love with him at one point.
She forgot.
She just is like, whatever, you're fine.
She's like, Stefan, all right. I'm in Stefan world now.
They had that whole thing where Tyler was turning into a werewolf, and she, like, I really liked that part of the series, and then she was like, he was a good guy. That's how it ended. Like, that's actually what she said. Yeah. So, like,
I know. This is why I don't like Caroline.
I know. And I love Caroline. I don't want to judge her, but
I think that makes a really good point that it was actually in character for her to just have forgotten kind of how she felt.
I still love her. I stand by her.
She's never going to be more than just quite a lot superficial.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, like, what's right in front of her. Yeah. Which that was how she started, so I guess it sort of makes sense for her to continue with that.
But that's why I don't like her.
I know, but
I actually liked her before she was a vampire.
Oh, really? Oh, so you're in the Allie camp.
Once she became a vampire, I didn't.
I liked her more when she became a vampire, but
me too.
Still,
I was sort of the opposite. I preferred her as a vampire as opposed to like a human.
Oh, I liked her as a human.
All she did was throw parties.
Yeah, she was just like
believable.
Oh, that's where you're going. You don't think she's a believable vampire?
No.
Okay.
I know. So I have a question back to the whole Enzo and Damon thing. That whole time, I probably already know the answer to this, but that whole time they were together, which seemed like 2 seconds.
Because it was.
Did Enzo have his humanity shut off? Or did he not?
No.
He didn't.
Not at first.
So he was just going along, and Damon had his shut off.
No, he didn't have
Damon
it off.
Didn't the whole time, did he?
Damon did.
Okay.
He flipped his off early. He says that in the very first episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know. Well, I know he said that, but I thought there was a thing where he didn't, and then he did it later. No, I don't know. I'm making up things. Oh,
yeah. That was Enzo.
Because
he didn't have it, but then because he kept being drawn back to Bonnie. Bonnie,
he didn't want Bonnie to get hurt.
Well, Sybil and Damon tricked him into flipping it. Oh. That's basically what
happened. Okay. So he did have it on at one point.
He did.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out, if he didn't have it on, then why was he
caring about Bonnie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all that?
Because he had it.
Yeah, okay, and that's what I'm saying. Like, not only was he, like, drawn to Sybil, but his switch was flipped. And then Bonnie's just like, hey, I'm going to save you. And he's like, all right. Like,
yeah, that whole, like, unflipping of his switch was very
I mean, maybe it's just harder for the Salvatore brothers to flip their switches back.
Honestly,
I don't know.
That could be. But I feel like Enzo's almost more damaged than they are. Like, the boys
He's very damaged.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. I think Enzo is just a walking abandonment issue, basically.
Yes, pretty much.
But that could explain why the motion switch is so easy to jostle.
That's
I mean, I guess it was kind of hard for her, because didn't she like set the whole house on fire and like stayed there until...
she did.
So I mean, all right, I just remembered that. I guess she did work pretty hard. She was willing to die, so
yeah,
that's good.
She was going to go all Juliet to her Romeo, basically.
Yeah,
but things have worked out.
Fair enough.
The spell is broken for now for him. Let's talk about Matt.
Do we have to?
I mean, we should. First of all, his biological dad apparently appears out of nowhere because he's lost all of his other family members. And second of all, we think he's gone, and then he's back. And there's some sort of weird artifact that Matt's dad has, because they imply he's a member of he's one of the founder founding family people.
Right.
What is this artifact and what does it do? Did anybody catch that? Did they say anything?
Because I remember Sybil threatening him, and he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe his memory was wiped, so I wouldn't know where it is. Maybe it's does he know where it is? I don't think he does.
Matt?
No, Matt's dad.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I do know that they were on Vervain. I don't know if his memory was wiped. But Damon found the artifact in Matt's dad's
Wasn't it
place.
a watch or something? Mm-hmm. Or did I make that up?
Maybe?
I don't know.
It was a bracelet. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it had blue flowers on it or something.
Did it?
Like that.
I don't remember. It was so memorable, guys.
No, I didn't remember it either, so it is so memorable.
I don't. Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't
remember that.
Damon found it and then it wasn't mentioned again.
Does it pertain to the link of the sirens, or Cade? Not Cade.
Yeah,
that would make
maybe
sense.
Cade?
I don't think there was any explanation.
So.
And if you're not remembering it, I don't think there was any.
Hopefully it'll come back because I'm a stickler for continuity. But yeah, we shall see.
I guess. I hope. I mean, they do that a lot, where they put something out there. At least they have in these past 2 seasons. And used to do it. Mm-hmm. That's why we're so frustrated with you. So let's talk about the mid-season cliffhanger. And I'm just going to read what I wrote, because there's a lot that happened, and I think I aptly summarized it. Stefan agrees to make the deal with Cade, who's like the devil, to save the twins from being bargain fodder for Cade by the Sirens, to Caroline's mixed relief. The deal is that he joins his brother as a harvester of souls in place of Sybil and Celine. Stefan makes a further deal with the devil. Cade will restrict Stefan's time as a soul harvester to 1 year as long as he agrees to turn off his emotion switch to become the Ripper once more during that year. Cade is betting that after the year is over, Stefan won't want to or won't be able to come back from being Ripper. Stefan believes he can, relying on his love for Caroline to see him through. After a moving funeral for Tyler and a dysfunctional Christmas celebration at the Salvatores, Damon literally rips Sybil's heart out to leave her immortal but less potent siren butt behind, and drives off into the night with Stefan as we see a switch flip off, revealing the dark eyes of the Ripper once more, while the rest of the Mystic Falls gang catch their breaths back in town. So we basically have Damon and Stefan emotion switches both off at the same time. That's what's different.
Yeah.
They've never been both off at the same time.
Nope.
So what do we think?
That'd be interesting. I'm glad they saved the twins, because I don't like it when things happen to kids. I wouldn't have been good with it.
They're going to end up killing Elena. Oh, sorry. We're not making predictions yet.
What if they do?
Well, that would be a really stupid way to
What if they kill
back?
Bonnie and that's how Elena comes back, and then they're like, oh shoot, I forgot about Elena.
Yeah, that's right.
And then both of them have to atone for their sin against Elena.
I'm trying to look.
They also kill Jeremy somehow. Let's just throw it all in there.
Oh, Jeremy's gone. Why pick on Jeremy?
They picked on Tyler.
He was on Chicago Fire, and then his character got sad.
Well, maybe they'll bring Jeremy back for a minute. Maybe. And what do you think about this, and what do you think might happen?
I think that Cade is right. I don't think that Stefan will be able to flip back his switch.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It was so hard for him to do that with Elena, and I feel like his love with Elena was more epic than his love with Caroline, so I don't know why he thinks that will be.
I will say that the episode, I was trying to look up the title, I think it's Detoured on Some Random Backwoods Path to Hell. It was the episode before the mid-season finale. That was a really good episode. It was when they were trying to save the twins, and Caroline and Alaric were fighting, and it just, I think it was true to the Vampire Diaries. It felt like a very Vampire Diaries-esque episode. And I haven't really felt that lately, just because all of the things. So yeah, that was really good. But I forgot that they hadn't had both of them turned off at the same time.
Yeah, I'm excited actually.
That'll be really interesting.
I hadn't thought of that.
I mean, I think that would be a really strong way to end the show, is they go on some sort of epic, it's everybody else against them.
Yeah.
Kind of a deal.
Turn them into the big bad almost, as opposed to Cade. Cade's just sort of there guiding them. That would be really
Can Cade be killed? What if they teamed up and killed him?
I don't know if Kate can be killed. That's one possibility. Another possibility is that Stefan doesn't make it, but Bonnie sacrifices herself to wake up Elena so that Damon can come back from the fold. That's my prediction.
Ooh, that's a good prediction.
Because I can see Bonnie sacrificing herself.
Oh, yeah.
And especially since she's got like the diet caffeine-free relationship with Enzo, you know, you can just start to like feel their romance, and then boom, tragedy.
That would be so good. I hope that they do that, because otherwise I'll be disappointed.
Maybe I should write the show.
You should.
Well.
We can collaborate.
We'll collaborate. Pay us. You owe us money. What do you think, Jen?
I like all of these predictions going on.
Is there any you like more?
Probably yours. I really like
Woohoo!
that.
I
I could totally see that happening.
Yeah. Oh, I do really love Ripper Stefan. One of the best scenes, in my opinion, of like the whole series is when Klaus is trying to get him to turn off his humanity and like screams at him to turn it off, and then he does, and it's this big like thing. Like, I think that character is really interesting because obviously it parallels to his like sensitive hero side.
He's the angel of Vampire
He's
Diaries.
like the tragic hero. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm hoping that they do something different. Like, obviously they have both of them off at the same time, so that is a different thing, but because they have done Ripper Stefan a few times before, so it'll be interesting.
Well, and I'm kind of hoping for one last crossover with the originals, but not just one, like randomly Klaus. Like, it would be great if they go on this road trip and end up in New Orleans, and then there's like a 2-episode crossover, because with both of their switches flipped off, and then stick them in the mix with Klaus and Elijah, and all of the original siblings are like alive now except Finn.
Yeah.
So
that would be really an interesting dynamic. I hope they're smart enough to do that.
do it,
please.
Do it. If you're listening. Kelsey's like originals.
Man, but I still think that'd be cool. I think I'm excited to see them both together because I feel like it will bring Damon back to the character that I enjoyed him as.
Yeah, like season 1.
Like
kind
season
of
1
really
Damon.
Yeah.
So I think that will be cool. I hope that that's what they do. Also, can we just talk about how I was right that one time?
Yeah!
That Damon and Enzo were serving the thing in the vault?
Yeah, you were right.
I liked that I was right.
Yeah,
and we didn't talk about that yet, so I'm jumping ahead.
That's fine. You can do that. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And Allie, we don't know if your prediction has come true yet.
Yes, it's sort of in...
Because she predicted that the thing in the vault was possibly the original evil, but all we know is that the sirens are connected to Cade, and Sybil was what was in the vault.
So who is Cade? Does Cade have a connection?
That's what we don't know.
We don't know.
Where did psychic Cade even come from? Where did psychic baby Sybil and baby Celine even come from?
That's
like,
true.
where did all the psychicness come from?
Right. Well, and witches were around before vampires because...
They were. Esther is the original witch.
Right. I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested to know who came first, witches or the psychics, or did the psychics come off of the witches? Or I'd like to know that backstory before they wrap
like
things
It
up.
seems like the psychics are a little bit more powerful than the witches. Don't you think?
Well,
I think it's just a different kind of magic. I don't know. I think they probably have pros and cons.
Well, the psychic abilities that each of these characters have are very specific. Like, the sirens can only call with their song and then get souls for Cade. Whatever Cade's power is, it didn't really manifest until the explanation the show offered was when everybody stoned him and burned him to death, all that negative energy made him the devil, quote unquote, and allowed him to be able to create hell, quote unquote.
It's sort of like a supernatural family tree, like branching off into the different creatures.
It's interesting how both of these CW shows had to go heaven and hell. I mean, we haven't done heaven with Vampire Diaries, but
and I don't think
into that biblical mythology as well,
but
instead of just...
If that's his hell, then what about the stone, the Phoenix Stone? Because that was also hell.
But that was a magical construct hell, not like
a vampire
not this
hell.
version of hell.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, but that's
sense.
a fair point, though. That there are multiple hells, apparently.
Multiple ways for Damon to pay for his sins.
For him to be sad, essentially.
Well, he's very, Now, Jen predicted, Jen predicted that the last time that the thing in the vault was connected to the Salvatores and or Enzo and or Bonnie and or the Bennett witches.
Yeah, because it took a Bennett witch to open up the vault, right?
It did.
But we haven't seen that.
I don't know that the sirens are connected to them, though.
I think it was just specifically to open the vault because it was sealed by a Bennett witch, and they have like weird rules for all of that. But
you also didn't think the twins wouldn't come back, but they
I know,
did.
I don't remember saying that.
You did. I listened to these before I made
I believe you. I believe you more over myself. The memory is, yes, but...
I think we expected them to go live their Children of the Corn life with Alaric elsewhere, but I was surprised to see all three of them back.
that made me so sad, though, when Caroline had to be like, take them away. I love them, but they have to be... I mean, it makes sense. Like, I would probably do that as well as a mother. But I really liked how Caroline, to Alaric, when he told her in the heat of the moment that they're not her kids, and she was like, don't you ever say that to me again. Like, she was very...
That was a good scene.
Yeah, she was very
that was
forthright
a good
about
scene.
that. I think that was that one episode before the mid-season finale. It was just a good episode. I liked it.
Yes, you liked it.
I did. I really liked it.
I liked the last one, the 8th episode.
I think that was good, too.
I did, too.
Yeah.
Because it had sort of that epic... We're really dry. We're sliding home, guys. You can feel it.
Yeah.
I liked the Christmassy sort of thing. I mean, it was, standard, but it added, because it was supposed to be, this perfect Christmas, and then you had Sybil and Damon and everyone crash the party. It was kind of funny.
I don't know. That seems pretty recycled and par for the
Yeah,
It
course.
is,
It
but
is.
I mean,
Plus, it was at the Salvatore Mansion, so there's that.
but you gotta love scenes at the Salvatore Mansion because it's so pretty. The fireplace is really nice.
Well, there is that. Very good set design. So, as I mentioned in the intro, and I feel like we've kind of discussed through the plot points, as I mentioned in the intro, and as it's been mentioned in the media, this is the final season of the Vampire Diaries, which I think everybody is happy about.
Yeah.
What I specifically asked the panel to think about today, and what I'd like to kind of close out on is, how would you like to see the series end? Because I assume you're all watching to the end, right?
Yes.
And you've made it this far.
Don't stop.
Jen's lying.
please.
We're all watching to the end. So how would you like the series to end?
I just had this really, I don't know what the word is for the thought, but I think it'd be real great if Stefan and Damon just flipped off their switches and drove away and then ended up in some other town where some girl falls in love with them. It's cyclical.
But then how does Elena fit in that?
I know, I'm just kidding. Maybe she looks just like Elena. It's another doppelganger. No, I don't really want it to end that way. I just, in my head, I was like, that'd be funny. I'd laugh.
The supernatural. Jensen and Jared have always said the Vampire Diaries will end with the Impala rolling into town. That's just the way it'll end. But
which would be cool, but is unlikely.
Yeah.
Especially since Supernatural films in Vancouver and the Vampire Diaries films in the South.
Also, the mythology is not, the canon is not similar. No.
They've not met each other before.
And these vampires are not the same as the Supernatural.
I was going to say, the vampires look totally different.
That's what I mean.
Vampires on Supernatural have a lot of different rules.
They do.
Yeah, and I don't like them as much.
They have a lot of teeth.
Much either.
I prefer
their
them.
teeth are weird.
They're weird, yeah.
So how would you like the series to end?
I liked your thing.
Yeah, that
what
was
did you
really
say?
nice.
I don't remember.
I said
anymore.
that what I thought was Bonnie would sacrifice herself so that Elena would wake up from her coma and help jog Damon back from having his emotion switch off.
But
and they
Stefan
live.
would die, right?
I don't know about Stefan. Kelsey
He can
said
die.
he could be a ripper for forever.
Yeah.
I don't really want Stefan to die. I've always, up until this season, still kind of like Stefan. Not as much as Damon, but I do like his character. I do think they've taken his character, aside from Caroline, on some interesting paths. What will happen to him, or what would I like to see? I don't know. I think what the show is presenting to us right now is that Stefan may not actually be truly happy unless he is the evil one. I think it might be, just like you said, and it flips it on its head from what we understand when the show started, which was Stefan was like, no, being a vampire is wrong, and Damon's like, being a vampire is awesome. I think it's going to flip.
Well, because Stefan is always trying so hard not to go back to that Ripper, which sort of points to the psychology of it. Like, maybe he likes it so much, but he's scared of it. Like,
overcompensating the other way.
Yeah, so that's why he's so hero. Like, in the scene where he's in the hallway of that creepy motel and, like, fighting all these people that Sybil's compelled, I think you could see how it's hard for him because he doesn't want to actually kill people, but he also enjoys it a little bit at the same time.
I've never found anything heroic that he does to feel sincere.
I agree. Like, it's just kind of...
It feels like a character he's playing.
Yeah, it's a facade. Like, he feels like he has to do that in order to be not what he is, I guess, if that makes sense.
Well, and it's sort of the angel-angelus thing. When Angel, loses his soul and becomes angelus, he totally relishes it. It's only when the soul, which was a gypsy curse, is forced back into him that he's like, oh, being a vampire is wrong. So I feel like I think Kelsey's right. If I were to predict, I think he might remain a Ripper. But I do think then that the characters would be forced into the choice of having to put him down because he's a terrible, he's a terror as a Ripper.
Right.
And that would be a tragic end. Damon gets the love of his life but loses his brother.
I think it would be realistic, though, to have him, sort of the bad one, live and then show Stefan's true colors almost, and then to have him die. Like,
isn't Damon then his true colors?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think
you don't think Damon should bring him back?
I mean, before they were, one would have the switch on and one would have the switch off, and whoever had the switch on would bring the other one back. Now they're both off.
Yeah, but if Elena comes back,
right? If Elena comes back, that'll be the thing that.
She could bring Damon back, and Damon would bring Sebastian. Oh my god.
That's your dog.
Shout out to Sebastian if you're listening. Maybe.
That's a lot for a last episode, though, because they're only bringing Nina DeBarros back for the final, it sounds like.
But she would really have to be very central. I mean, it could just be her, like, coming back, and then sort of everything else. And plus,
there could be a lot of carnage. There's always, big, apocalyptic things that happen in these long-running series in the end. So.
And they do their ends of seasons well. Like, usually the first half was really slow and kind of flimsy in plot, but then that last half really picks up. I know season 5 was a big one for that with the whole, like jail thing, and then they had the big breakage of the veil or whatever, so... Yeah, so hopefully that happens.
Any other things you want to see in the series end?
I think tragedy just makes sense.
Maybe Bonnie and Enzo will, like, Thelma and Louise it.
Oh. We can tell where she stands on these two characters.
I don't like them.
They won't.
And we need Bonnie to die so Elena can come back. That's what I want.
Well, then they can't Thelma and Louise it.
She'll be dead.
And Enzo's a vampire. I mean, it'd have to be a pretty,
Bonnie has to die for Elena to come back.
But then what would
How could Enzo die?
What if
he kills himself because Bonnie died?
I'm saying, what if they kill themselves together?
Listen.
I guess Romeo and Juliet. Is that a better...
What if the twins siphon Elena out of the magical coma without her?
What if the twins kill Bonnie and Enzo?
That's a good point.
Right? What if...
Maybe they could. Maybe they can get her.
Alaric and
if that's
Caroline
the case,
say, "Hey,
wait, wouldn't they die or be in a coma then?"
No.
How does that
just suck it up?
Don't they suck it up and then take on whatever the magic is?
Do they? I don't think so.
But if that's how it worked with what's his face.
That's how it worked with what's his face because he had a special combination of his genetics.
But also,
I thought they had the same thing.
If that's the case, if they can siphon, why has no one thought of that before?
Because they were babies before. Now they're 3.
And they want to keep
6.
I mean, they want to keep them safe, which I get, but
they could do it that way. But I think mine's cooler.
Yours is probably more realistic. I mean,
Elena's human now too, right?
She is human now,
which I like. I like human.
So she'll wake up and then die,
right? because she was in a
But then David
underwater
might kill himself.
Well, but that's how it is.
But that's like a sleeping.
I don't like this ending. This is a bad ending. He must live.
Everybody dies. That's what we're voting
He
on.
must live to be shirtless and blue-eyed for the rest of his immortal days.
Everybody dies, and Matt buries them all.
Oh man, that's the worst
Oh
ever.
my god.
That's terrible.
I mean, I kind of always had, like, from the get-go, I sort of always wanted it to end where she died, but she's in a coma. So, like that's sort of the only show that I really want everyone to die on is Supernatural, because it would make sense. But that's a different tangent.
It's a different podcast that we already do.
I know. But I'm
So, well,
But I think Bonnie sacrificing herself, all of that madness, I think that would be
interesting.
yeah, it would be the most realistic. It would be achievable, as opposed to Matt. That would be so sad. Matt is
if
so
anyone's going to
tormented.
die, I think Matt should die.
He should.
He lives a miserable existence.
He's been through enough.
But he's made it this far.
Let him rest.
Let him rest in peace. Carry on, wayward son. He already brought that thing up.
Maybe the Impala does drive into town and Matt Donovan gets in and leaves.
That's cool.
Or
That
runs
would-
Or
Matt
Castiel could appear and take him up to heaven.
Then he'd have to
Done.
go be on that show.
I think Matt just deserves
and
to
I don't
be,
like him enough
to be happy.
to be on that show.
Poor Matt.
I don't like
It's
him.
not his fault. It's not
No.
Zach
Never
Miller's
liked
No,
fault.
it's the character.
No, it's the character.
Yeah.
I've never liked the character.
He's just disposable, and he's there when they need something. And even Damon himself, which I liked that he mentioned this, but he said, "I don't know how you stayed human this long," and it's true. How has he not become something? Like,
Well, I mean, that would truly be
Why didn't
tragic.
Damon kill him to piss everybody off? Why did it have to be Tyler?
because they needed to bring back Tyler for the last season, I think.
Well,
just to
Matt's
avoid-
probably a better actor and was more emotional about Tyler's death.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's fair.
Because they were bros. They were like the frat bros.
Maybe Matt will kill himself.
Oh,
That sounds
God.
awful.
I think his death probability is very high. I'm
Yeah.
just going to suggest that.
Especially with the dad in the mix. I don't know. I think something tragic will happen in that respect. I think your prediction is sort of everyone's, like, hope.
Me too. I'm not going to ask you if you're going to recommend this show at this point, because at this point we might as well just wait till the end, and then we'll ask that. So at this point, do you have anything else you wish to say that you haven't already said about Vampire Diaries Season 8A?
Please end good and not be a disappointment.
Please end well.
I was just going to say that. I left it up to you.
All right.
Just end good and just do it. I just don't want it to be a disappointment. It's gone on the song. I'm nervous. That's all I
Already
have
been a
to say.
disappointment since
I know.
season
I'm kind of beyond the disappointed
I'm
stage.
surprised I've actually, if we hadn't been doing this podcast, I probably would have stopped watching.
Yeah,
Back
probably.
in seasons 5, 6, maybe part 6, I might have watched.
I think I stopped watching in season 5 and then felt like it's the Matt characterization thing. I had to, like, I was sucked in and I had to go back and, like, rewatch all of it.
And with that said, I would like to thank Kelsey, Jen, and Allie for joining me again one more time to talk about the Vampire Diaries. We will, of course, return to talk about the show after the second half of this season airs. But for right now, I'm going to read this little statement, which you might have been noticing on our podcast episodes to date. CPU! Was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, and hails from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play. What this means is, give us stars, and, 5 if you're feeling generous, or comment on YouTube so that we can spread the word more effectively. If you have suggestions on shows that we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, where you can also subscribe to the blog via email, couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, or via our social media accounts at Facebook and Twitter. We're adding new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time, and as always, we have several more new episodes coming down the pike, as I like to say, which are all currently available and searchable via the web. So all of our old stuff is there, and if I've announced new stuff, just look for it. If it's not there, tell us what you want us to talk about. We're everywhere. Make sure you subscribe to the blog, any one of our channels, our social media accounts, stay up on new events and episodes. Until the end of Season 8. The Vampire Diaries can be streamed on Netflix through Season 7. You can catch up on the most recently aired 5 episodes on the CW's website or the CW streaming app. CPU, ! Will revisit the Vampire Diaries after the series finale airs, at which point we will record 2 goodbye episodes, one covering the remainder of Season 8 and one looking back at the entire series. So until that time, keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned. Bye-bye.